You're listening to Unshaken, the Hope Dealer podcast, where we rise, heal, and make no excuses. I'm your host, Jason Brooks. Let's turn trauma into truth and pain into power. Let's go. What's up, y'all? It's your boy Jason here with another episode of Unshaken, the Hope Dealer podcast. This is the episode that I have been waiting on. This one is so important to me. I'm going to be talking to two fellas that I actually went to rehab with just about 4 years ago. And the reason this one is so important to me is there's a huge failure rate when it comes to going to rehab and actually maintaining your sobriety afterwards. So this one is very unique to me just due to the fact that not only am I still sober, but all three of us are still sober. So to me, that's huge. So without further ado, one of the first fellas that I want to introduce, I'm going to call him D because that's what we've always called him. But D was one of the first people that I met. And we roomed together and we even went up to step housing together. And basically step up housing is kind of basically when you graduate to the next level and you're like, I'm finally away from these other losers. No. Without further ado, that's my boy D. Y'all welcome him, but he's going to talk about his journey. But nice to have you on the show, D.
Hey, good to be here, Jason. Good to be here, brother. Good to see you, Roberto, as well.
Yeah,
hey,
so just
man.
tell us a little bit about yourself, buddy, and what led you up to rehab and led you up to here.
So I'm originally from a country called Bulgaria in Eastern Europe. That's where the accent comes from. And in my country, if you don't drink, something's wrong with you. So it's kind of like part of the culture. Friday night, Saturday night, you go out, you party. But I never thought I'll have a problem with alcohol. For us, alcohol is part of life. However, in my mid 30s, I noticed myself not being able to not drink. And I always had an excuse. Some people in my life that was pushing my buttons, and I got to a point where everything in my life was perfect, but I still could not drink. And that's when I realized I have a problem, and that led me to rehab. My lows are not very lows per se, but I knew that I had a problem connecting with my kids, and that was a big deal for me. I was I'm there, but I was absent, and I had to fix that. And that's when one day my wife said, "Hey, you should probably go to rehab." And she was expecting us to go in a big fight about it. And I was like, yeah, I should probably do that. So we picked up the phone, we found that place, and 12 hours later, I was on the plane.
So you went without kicking and screaming?
No, man, I knew inside of me that I had to do it. And I told you, everything was lined up in my life and that I shouldn't need to cope. But here was I not being able to not drink. So I knew I had to do it somehow, and rehab was the natural choice. So I just did it before I went too low, before I lost my family, and all that stuff.
Gotcha. So and you got there just before I did, right?
Yeah, maybe a couple of days before you.
Yeah. So you were there. You were there. What are you about? 25, 26 days?
25, 26. I was supposed to be the full 30 days,
Yeah.
And we can get into it, but I was kind of kicked out for.
I know. We all were. I think insurance these days is quick to cut you off.
Yeah, with me, I don't think you have to do it insurance. I had a great insurance. They just didn't want it there anymore.
Oh yeah. I don't think it was that, man.
Because I was very vocal about criticizing some of the staff, how they were doing things. And people started listening to me, and they're like, all right, that guy gotta go.
Was this your first time in rehab?
Yes, sir.
That's awesome. So your first time in rehab and you're almost 4 years sober still. That's awesome because that was my second time. But so what do you think was I don't say your number one, but what was your takeaways from there that's helped you out with your sobriety to this day?
There were a couple of things that I learned in there that I didn't expect to learn that. And that would be the thing that actually makes a difference in my life. But one of the things was I've always had problems falling asleep. Like I would try to fall asleep on time, and I would just roll in bed, and then I would just wake up and go and watch YouTube for like 3 hours until like 3 in the morning until I pass out. And in Florida, I learned that I don't have problems with sleep because in Florida I sleep like a baby. So I learned that that's not something to do with my genes. It was like an external factor for me. And back then I was thinking it was the alcohol, but it turned out to be more than the alcohol. Alcohol was part of it, but it wasn't the only part. So that was the one thing I learned, that I can sleep if I'm in the right circumstances. Another thing was they do teach you a lot of things. You go to classes like every day, they teach you a lot of things. And a lot of these things they teach you actually help in a way, especially the first year. That was the second thing. And there was something more. Some of the therapists, you guys remember Elle?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Elle was amazing. Like I was able to switch from my therapist to Elle, and she made a huge difference. Roberto, you were there. You were giving me a haircut the last day before they kicked me out. And Elle came into the house. Remember? She came in. She was like, "Hey, D, you're not a real kid anymore. Like just be a grown up." And that like it made a huge deal. It made me click. I was like, "Oh my god, I have been
remember that.
like locked up in this." You remember that, right? Yeah, I was like, "Oh my god, I've been locked up in this like child personality." Maybe because of the things that happened with me in my life, but she like opened my eyes about it, and then I realized that I have to change that.
Gotcha. So talking about sleep, one of the things that helped me that I use to this day was the breathing exercises.
Yeah.
Do you ever use those?
So I actually don't remember the breathing exercises we did in the camp, because I have been doing different types. So it all kind of like mixes up together. But I appreciate the value of the breathing exercises. Yes, 100%.
Gotcha. Talk to us about the day you got off the plane, right? You got back to San Francisco,
Oh man.
saw your wife, or you saw your kids, like that. I want to know, like, because I'm not married, and I wasn't in a relationship then, so I could just imagine. But the first time I went to rehab, I was right, but I don't think I was ever in a very happy marriage like you all. So I want to know, like, how was that feeling, or what was it like when you saw your wife and your kids, man?
So it was bittersweet
Yeah.
because I saw them for the first time like sober.
Yeah.
I had been sober for a month, and my oldest boy, we have a very close bond. We have a very close connection. He just like jumped on me, hugged me, and he wouldn't let me go. Like I remember in the middle of the night, I won't be able to sleep very well. So I would wake up, I would go into the other room, like on a different bed, and he would find me. He would wake up as well because I'm not there next to him, and he'll come to my room, and that just made me feel so much love. And that's one of my best memories in my life so far. On the other hand, my wife, I saw that look in her eyes, like, who came home? This person is a little bit different. Who is that person? How should I act towards him? So there was definitely an adjustment period. And with the wife, it took about a couple of years before things started working together. But with the kids, we just hit the ball running.
Gotcha. So let me ask you this. So since that time, have you ever felt like, and I'm sure you have, but do you ever wonder if they question, like, you're ever going to essentially fall off? Is that not a worry ever?
Brother, the
All the
first
time?
week, the first week I had a panic attack.
Yeah.
And I know that what a panic attack feels like because I've had one more panic attack in my life where I allegedly cost millions of dollars for my business because I'm on IT, and we did some firewall changes, and all of a sudden in the peak season, the traffic stopped. So allegedly that happened. But what led to that panic attack? That's a funny story, actually. So I had to do a Home Depot run, some home project. I don't know what it was the first week. And I remember exiting the store and I saw this. super fit woman, but she wasn't the bodybuilding kind of fit. She looked like she was an Olympic athlete in some very strength sport. I don't know what it was, but I had to know because I wanted to, look like that. So I go in, like I bring up my confidence and I go in and I ask her, "Hey, what sport do you play? What do you do?" And she like looked at me like I was some trash. She didn't even say anything, man. She didn't even respond to me. It was like a simple question. What do you do to look like that? And then I was like, I felt like shit. And I go in the car and driving back home and the panic attack hit me. And I had to pull on the side of the road. And I think I sent you a text message. I don't know if you remember that. And I was like, hey, I got to talk to you. And you were like, hey, I can't talk right now, but I'll call you later, something like that. But I called one of my childhood friends that I hadn't spoken with for a long time. And we stayed on the phone for like 45 minutes. And I told him, hey, I just got off rehab and I had all this confidence in me that I can do this and it's going to be easy. And here I am on the side of the road with a panic attack calling you to talk to somebody. And he walked me through it. And the next day I signed up for AA.
Gotcha. So just two more things. How was your friends? How have they been as far as like supportive? Like, because one of my worries when I got out was everybody going to be pressuring me, things like that. Like, how supportive has it been?
Well, to be honest, like during the pandemic, kind of like lost touch with a lot of people. So friends kind of alienated. I alienated a lot of people from my life while I was drinking. And I tried to get some of those relationships back, and some of them I did. But most of the people, like I never either bothered to, try to fix, or it just didn't feel right. So I lost a lot of friends.
Gotcha. All right. So last thing is, what what tips would you give somebody as far as once they've let's say they went the same path and went to like in-house rehabilitation or perhaps outpatient. What tips would you give for somebody to keep their sobriety? Like, what are you doing?
So I was lucky because of that rejection from that girl that led me to the panic attack. One of the first things I did after that was sign up for AA and also sign up for a powerlifting gym without knowing. I just looked on the Google map and looked up gym, and I closest place to my house, and it turned out to be an elite level powerlifting gym. So I did spend like the first 6 or 9 months lifting with them, and they had a program like a mental stability program because a lot of their athletes have to perform on a very high level. So they kind of like developed their own system of figuring out what's wrong with you and how to, you know, make you better so you can withstand these workloads. And for me, they figured out that all my problems stemmed from my fear of not being lovable. So any trigger that I had circled back to, oh, if this is true, then I am not lovable. So once I figured that out, that that's my trigger, it ultimately like fixed me because I was going to AAs and I met some great people in AAs and they helped me the first year. It was very important. So if you just are coming out of rehab, just go to the AAs. That's the first thing you do. But I figured out when I go to the AA and I tell my story and I get home, I felt great. I felt confident. And I felt like whatever hole I had in my soul was at least temporarily filled. And over the course of the week, I will get the urge to go back to AA until I get to did the powerlifting thing. They figured out the am I lovable problem with me. And then once I apply that solution, I didn't feel like I had to go back to the AA to recharge, if that makes any sense. So that's when I knew, okay, these people did something that kind of like fixed something deep inside of me And so, first thing I would recommend going to AA, very important, finding the right person in AA to be your sponsors. I had a great guy, Kevin. I still keep in touch with him. The second thing I would say, very important, is fix your best, fix your sleep, your water intake, fix what you eat, and you will see dramatic improvements in your overall well-being. And once you have that well-being checked, you will feel less need of getting dopamines from like alcohol or drugs or whatever your fix is. Because that's all we're doing. We're just chasing the dopamines.
Absolutely. So at the end, basically just clean up your life, live clean.
Start with the basic. Get your sleep is so important. The sleep is so important. There is like two stages of sleep, and the second stage is subdivided into four stages. In modern day life, we almost never get to the last two of the four stages, which are the most important for healing, memory repair, and all that stuff. It is so important to not like drink or smoke weed to put yourself to sleep. Just fix your diet, and you will start going to sleep, just like we did in the in Florida.
All right, brother. Well, listen, man, I appreciate having you on this show. I appreciate you all paying attention and watching this another episode of Unshaken, a Hope Dealer. We're going to be back shortly with Roberto. Stay tuned. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Unshaken, the Hope Dealer podcast, where we turn trauma into truth and pain into power. If you've enjoyed this episode, hit subscribe and keep showing up for your healing. Until next time, stay brave, stay bold, and stay unshaken.